From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and Million Dollar Listing, this is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 topics of the week that made us go
wow.
That's right. I'm co-founder of World of Wonder, Fenton Bailey, joined by our Chief Creative Officer, Tom Campbell, who is overseas in the UK. Joining us.
Hello.
Hello, love. What a biscuit.
Hello, Governor.
And from Hollywood, James St. James, editor of the Wow Reports.
That's me. Hello, darling.
Hello, sweetie. As a reminder, you can watch the Wow Report for Radio Andy on our YouTube channel. Wow Presents every week with extra content, all the bits we couldn't fit in, and all the mistakes left intact.
Oh, Lord, I had no idea.
Right. Let's get down with the countdown, and we start at number 10.
Number 10.
I think the announcement of the death of award shows was premature. This past weekend, the Grammys were on CBS and Paramount Plus, and they set a new record high, like the most people watching for many, many years. And I watched it the day after on Paramount Plus. And I have to say, you know, the only complaint about the show is that it's really long, but it's so inclusive, it's hard to be angry at its length. And I thought there was highlight after highlight, some controversy, which we'll get into. But weirdly, because I'm not the first person you think of when you think the history of hip hop. Am I right? But
Right, yeah.
the tribute that they put together, that Questlove put together from the Roots of, I don't know how, like 20 hip hop artists, one after another, who were all sound and looked amazing, blew me away. I thought like that was a moment in history that will never be made happen again.
Well, interestingly, Tom, I remember you had the same reaction at the Super Bowl when they did the history of 90s hip hop, and you were blown away by that too. I think you are a secret hip hopper from I think the 90s hip hop was probably your jam.
For shizzle. Oh, see, I didn't even know I was going to say that. Oh my God.
Why did you think the death of the award show has been prematurely announced? Has there been some coverage recently of that old hoary chestnut?
Kind of just hear what we talk, because every time award shows, they seem kind of bland, out of touch. Music still seems vital. They were huge, you know, in the movies, the Oscars, it's huge names, but it's elitist. And with music, it's the music we all know and love. And I felt like the awards got kind of spread out. Beyonce made, you know, history for the most awards won. She was running a little bit late. Oh, and the other thing I liked, and I know Noah, people, it's fun to make fun of Noah. Trevor Noah, yes. Excuse me. It's fun to make fun of Trevor Noah. It's in fashion now, but I thought he did an excellent job. And I love that they put all the tables on the floor and made it feel, and had celebrities sit together, so it had a little bit of that Golden Globes magic. You know, Lizzo is with Adele.
I do want to ask you about the Bonnie Raitt win, because a lot of people were shocked by that. Everyone online, who the hell is this? Nobody knew who Bonnie Raitt was. It was this whole Twitter thing. Like, who the hell is this old woman?
I remember, like, in 1992 when she won all of the Grammys for Nick of Time, and it was kind of her huge comeback from the 70s. And here she is, all these more 30 years later, and she won again. Listen, the Grammys are very unpredictable. All award shows are unpredictable in terms of, you know, who votes. You know, there's so many people in the category, who blocks who out, who pops ahead. But how awesome that Bonnie Raitt was won. She looked as shocked as anybody.
I love that. I was just reading a autobiography of a woman, a 60s sort of radical, and she was talking about hanging out with young Bonnie Raitt in the 1960s. So Bonnie has paid her dues. She has been around, and one of the original Nepo babies, her father, of course.
Yes.
But somebody who really has earned her laurels. I thought it was very exciting.
Who's her father?
John Raitt, who was a huge Broadway star in the 50s and 60s. He starred in Pajama Game and many, many, many others.
Oklahoma, wasn't he the original Oklahoma?
I'm gonna be lying if I say absolutely yes. Maybe he was in Carousel, maybe, but he was in.
Yeah,
Yes, you're
okay.
probably right.
Big Broadway.
Other historical moments. I thought Lizzo's speech for winning for Record of the Year for About Damn Time, where she called out Beyonce, where she, she is the moment right now, Beyonce, and I'm glad that she's reaping in the awards. The other, the fact that Kim Petras and Sam Smith won for Duet of the
That
Year
was
for
wonderful.
Unholy.
And not only that, but we got to see Violet Chachki and Gottmik behind them. They were on stage.
Yes.
They walked in the red carpet. Everybody looked fantastic. I love Sam Smith. I love Kim Petras. I don't care.
I must say I've long not been a fan of Sam Smith, but I am loving this incarnation of him.
I am too. I think the more upset people get, the more I love him.
Ted Cruz, Senator Ted Cruz, that awful man, posted like Satan worship on network TV. Just that sort of complete failure of sense of humor or sense of irony or sense of spectacle, and just going off about Satan worship.
I'll wrap it up with this. I saw a post that said, Ted Cruz says that, Sam Smith is Satan. Satanists don't give it much of a don't think it's very Satan-y at all. It's sort of, it's like all the religious rites. Satan, people that worship Satan, they didn't think it was that great. It was just so.
Yeah, and how people can get their panties into us about Sam Smith in 2023, when the Rolling Stones have been doing like their Satanic Majesty's request. I mean, none of this is new. It's like, it's so extraordinary.
It's the same people who were shocked at Lil Nas X. Remember this time last year, are shocked that he wore devil horns.
But Kim Petras was reportedly the first openly trans artist to win a Grammy, and Sam Smith, during the acceptance speech, stayed silent and watched her and let her have her moment and speak, and she spoke so eloquently. So I thought that was a nice moment.
But I do have to just stop you right there, because the first openly trans woman was in 1969, who worked on an electronic album, won best song, and then she went on to work for Stanley Kubrick in A Clockwork Orange and 2001: Space Odyssey. So she was the first trans woman.
I stand corrected, but still, what a wonderful event to happen.
No, I'm not taking anything
away from... Exactly. Who cares? It was. I mean, because there was that Sam Smith thing. Because when he won the Oscar, he was like, "I'm the first gay man to win this, that, or the other."
Yes, no. I'm not taking anything away from Kim Petras. I'm just saying that there is history there of another trans woman who is worth checking out.
And Kim did thank all the people that came before her to kick down the walls so she could be there. So
you can check out the Grammys on Paramount Plus, right?
Yep.
Moving on to number 9.
Number 9.
I watched All Quiet on the Western Front on Netflix. Probably the most anti-war movie ever made, I'm going to say, based on the 1929 novel by Erich Maria Remarque. It's told from the point of view of a young German soldier who is caught up in the jingoistic, nationalistic fervor of the time and joins the war with his buddies. And they're all, yeah, we're going to go. Blah, blah, blah. And the minute they get to the front line, they realize the horror and the mistake that they've made. It's the reality sets in. The first 15 minutes, remember, of Saving Private Ryan is sort of the gold standard of what war probably was really like. And the first half hour might be better than Saving Private Ryan if you have the stomach for it. This is the terror, the bullets, the grenades, the flamethrowers, all the tanks, everything that had never been seen before. We've talked about World War I, the life in the trenches, just the cold and the dirt and the mud and the bodies lying all around. And every time you see, there's bullets flying everywhere. It's overwhelming. And it doesn't matter what side you're on, whether you're German or American, you realize that young men are the fodder for war. And there's the generals in their high towers who are far removed from their actions, who are the bad guys, and the young men who are just victims of the nationalism and everything, whether it's Iraqis and Americans or Ukrainians and Russians. It's the young men who are always the victims of war. and you can feel sorry for the Germans in this case, even though they were the bad guys. And what this boy goes through is just, it is so hard to watch, but I really think that everybody should give it a chance. It really is just anti-war.
Have you seen the original movie? All Quiet on
The 1930, yes, I have. And
It's so
brilliant.
chilly. I mean, I'm still haunted by that. In fact, I think
Yeah.
I'm afraid to watch the remake because I saw the original when I was a kid, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and I was watching television on my own, and just it's nightmarish. It's like lodged in my mind as it was just
It is,
horrific.
and it's apples and oranges because this is a lot more gruesome probably than that one, but it's so haunting, and it's just such a powerful anti-war statement, and you just, oh, it's just, it's also interesting that it's on Netflix because I feel like Netflix does 100 crap movies for every one prestige, and this is their one prestige of the year. It deserves Best Picture. I don't know that it will get Best Picture, but you should give it a shot, even if you just watch the first half hour, because it's just so powerful. But it is not for Tom.
I'm scared.
Yeah. I don't think you can.
And is
watch
it long? Is it long?
It is. It's but it doesn't feel long because it's just it's you were so in the moment and you were so involved in it that it's and the kids do a magnificent job. It's just
All right. That's All Quiet on the Western Front, nominated for an Oscar, I believe, and currently streaming on Netflix.
Yeah.
Number 8.
Number 8.
Oh no, James, I'm sorry I have to do this to you, but
no, what are you gonna do?
I went. Jazz from Variety very kindly asked me to join her and go to see Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania.
God in heaven, another Marvel gushing. Are we gonna go bananas?
Well, it's interesting, James. This is the 31st film in the Marvel. Can you believe it? They've made
And the
31
31st one that you have talked about on this show,
and this is the first film of Phase 5. There have been these phases mapped out. I will go to my grave saying that this MCU is a masterpiece of planning, thought, care, creativity. But this movie is different. I mean, yes, it's the same in that it has all the same Marvel meta humor, incredible special effects, the whole sort of postmodern approach to telling basically, ultimately, a traditional narrative of the good guy versus the bad guy with lots of violence and special effects. But I don't know how they do it, James, but somehow they keep it fresh. And the twist this time, one of the little twists is Paul Rudd plays Ant-Man and he's married to the Wasp. So that's nice. So you got two superheroes, two tiny superheroes. And this time he's written his autobiography. It's called Watch Out for the Little Guy or something. And they've actually done a book. For the first time in Marvel history, they're releasing a biography of Ant-Man written by the guy who is Ant-Man. And that comes out in September. The story itself is Ant-Man and his wife, and they go with their daughter into the multiverse. Thank you, multiverse. That's what I'm looking for. Now, we've had multiverse movies before, but this time they just go in there and they spend most of the movie in a multiverse, and it is the most visual, orgiastic, nonsensical. And at first you're thinking, oh, it's the Star Wars bar. It's the bar in Star Wars where all the kooky creatures with the weird shaped heads and the beaks and at first you're thinking, yeah. But they're so funny and clever about it. There's this sort of blobby character who is basically just a sort of ball of juice. And his whole thing is he has no holes. And there's this whole marvelous thing. They capture Paul Rudd and they're like, how many holes do you have? Which is a very sophomore childish conversation, but it's done with this little alien blob who's so funny, and you have to drink his juice in order to understand what all the different peoples in the quantum universe are saying. It's just so clever. But I haven't even got to the best part of this film. One thing is it's 2 hours long, which is great, and Jonathan Majors is the new villain. He plays the Conqueror Kang the Conqueror. He is so good. I don't think I've ever seen a villain as compelling, as gorgeous, as threatening, as layered, as complex, as I tell you, James, you've just got to treat yourself and go see this.
I do like Paul Rudd. I will, you know, I love him in everything he does. So maybe.
Tom,
I was on mute. I said, not since Joan Collins in Dynasty has there been such a compelling villain.
you know what? That is a perfectly apt and brilliant comparison. I would say exactly that, because Jonathan Majors he's beautiful, but also ugly. He is brutish, yet also kind of sensitive or empathetic. It was a mixture of love and lust, and I couldn't take my eyes off him.
I've seen very few of these movies, but I did see the Ant-Man way back when because of Paul Rudd. I did enjoy it. And I read an interview where Paul Rudd said he was in the, universe before it was cool. Like he was one of the first actors to jump in before it was trendy to do. So, give him his flowers for being early to the party.
Right. And I can't resist just wrapping it up with a little James baiting, because when you compare the DC universe just announced some huge revamp, such a mess. Like they have like this movie, that, and then they got Elseworlds. They're doing Elseworlds.
I'm not even. You aren't gonna bait me. You can't bait me. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. You go off. You go off, Vincent.
I spent most of my time during your story counting my holes. Just so you know, I counted 7 if you don't count your eyeballs.
But Tom, that is the correct answer. If Blake was going to ask that as we took a break,
I have 8. I don't know what's going on.
Drink the juice.
Oh.
That's okay. People all different. There's all different kinds of people in the world, James.
Speaking of the multiverse, Drag Race Sverige, that is a Drag Race Sweden, premieres March 4th. 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern, with Untucked as well, premiering an hour later. And that's on Wow Presents Plus worldwide, excluding Sweden. So the home of ABBA, of course. So, you know what to expect. All right, let's take a quick break. Blake, have you got a question?
I do. Valentine's Day is coming up on Tuesday, and I didn't know this. Cupid is believed to carry arrows that have tips made of which 2 materials?
Huh.
What are Cupid's arrows tipped with? We'll have the answer right after the break here on the Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. I am Benson here with James and Tom. And Blake, we're counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. But first, we have a question from Blake.
Yes. Valentine's Day is on Tuesday, so Cupid is believed to carry arrows that have tips made of which 2 materials?
And same material. So I think it's like metally. So I think it's gold and diamonds.
Close.
Okay, I'm going to say gold and silver.
Close.
I'm going to say platinum.
Well, one is good and one is bad. Gold is the good one, and lead is the bad one. Huh. So, according to legend, if Cupid strikes someone with a gold arrow, they will have the hots for their partner. And if they strike them with a lead arrow, that love will wither.
I think I've been lead poisoned in the past. I just want to go on record.
I was definitely
my own flowers.
By a golden arrow watching Ant-Man 3.
Oh, shoot that golden arrow.
We are counting down top 10 things that made us go wow. We've reached 1098. Number 7.
Number 7.
I watched Pamela Anderson, A Love Story, the documentary on Netflix. Because I'm not going to read the book. Have you guys had a chance to watch?
No.
She
Okay.
looks fantastic. Whatever she's had done, she looks absolutely brilliant. I will say that.
It's very, it's Pamela's chance to speak about her life. And it's really compelling. It's a couple of hours. I totally recommend it. You know, some of the more compelling parts I'll just pull from it is I'll start with the superficial because she looks great and nobody does casual wear better than Pam. Kind of like, and a lesser woman they would, but big oversized dusters with Ugg boots, and she has kind of like white like nightgowns, and she's always just very comfortable. She looks great. She's in the whole thing. She appears with no makeup or very little makeup, and you realize what a natural beauty she is. You also see pictures of her from her past, and you realize what a gorgeous young woman she was, and how she literally and she talks about, not to rush through this and not to be, but she had abuse in her youth, when she was a young girl, and she shows, very telling school pictures from before and after the abuse, and the different state of mind. But she one night went to a football game in Canada and was wearing a Labatt's beer T-shirt, and they got her, put her up on the big billboard on the big television, and she became famous overnight. Labatt's called her, Hugh Hefner called her, she flew to LA, and the rest is history. And you realize, I know this, but I was reminded what a unique beauty she is. She's a punchline, but she's incredibly beautiful, incredibly iconic. She spends a lot of time with her sons, and the premise basically is, celebrities in their storage spaces, Fenton. She goes up to Canada where her parents still are, and where she's anything that she thought was important, she sent up there to put in storage. Her diaries, which she was incredibly diarist, and all this videotape, the sex tape with her and Tommy, they used to videotape everything they did, not just the sex tape, but whatever. So she has all this really compelling video of her life, and you see her watching it on VHS tapes in a VCR with her sons there some of the time, and it's family stuff, and it's really beautiful. And her sons, who are now like 25 and 27 or something, are really handsome. They come across really strongly. And the other super poignant, compelling, upsetting thing is she just talks about how no one's ever had boundaries with her, how it was okay to sort of badger her about her breasts and her, because it's one thing for a woman to talk about them, and it's another thing for her to, and like they have her on Jay Leno, and she's just the punchline, and she's always been so great at bouncing back, at having a clever quip back. And it was you just realize how cruel we are to women and how insensitive we are to women.
Well, we've talked about how Dolly Parton has, her whole career was the same way, and we realize that we have to stop doing that to women, and just, and when you talk about Madonna being beaten up over her appearance at the Grammys, and just how awful we are when it's just a whole documentary that needs to be done right there.
And it's deep in us, because I feel compelled to do it sometimes too, and it's like, be better, look beyond that. But it's worth seeing. It is her point of view. I think she tells her truth. I think, we've always known. We did a TV series with her many, many years ago for one season on E! called
Pam, Girl on the Loose.
Girl on the Loose. And I got to know her a little bit then through the footage and whatever. And she is a much more complicated, interesting woman than her public persona, punchline.
I was always struck by how smart she is. I mean, and really also not only smart, but articulate, and also compassionate, like just
in control. She is. I like the fact that she is taking control, especially after the Pam and Tommy thing traumatized her, apparently.
Right. And they talk about the first time and how they had no agency in it, made no money on it, and that it was the whole scab was ripped off again. She's been married several times. She's a failure with that, but she but again, it's worth to hear her story, and it's an easy interesting quick 2 hours of Pamela, a love story.
That's what is it called, Tom?
Pamela Anderson, A Love Story, and it's on Netflix.
Awesome. Thank you. James, number 6.
Number 6.
Number 6, there was a recent cover story in New York Magazine last week, I think it was. You can find it online. New rules of etiquette for the 2020s. And some of them are bonkers. Some of them make a lot of sense. I'm going to read a few of them here and see if you agree. Tom, this one is for you.
Okay.
When another human being is present, do not talk to your animal in the private voice you use when you are alone together. Okay. Never send an edible arrangement as a gift.
I believe that.
Yeah. Don't describe TikToks. They are more boring than describing dreams. Okay.
By that.
Never answer a compliment with a compliment. Never ask somebody what their job is. If somebody mispronounces a word and you know what they mean, let it go. Do not correct them ever.
I like that.
Don't feel bad about being the first person to stand up when the airplane lands. You can stand in the aisle as long as you want and do not worry about anybody else. When planning a hangout, it is perfectly okay to say no partners allowed. It is fine to use COVID to get out of any commitment. Ask before sending graphic pictures to anyone, and do not post on Instagram in the manner of an influencer if you are not an influencer. These are just among the many
I get that.
rules.
May I amend the first one? I agree with all of them. The first one, don't use your cat voice with someone you want to have sex with. I think you can have it with everybody else. I think if you want to have sex with them, the cat voice will not help.
It could be part of the whole thing. Could be like two kitty cats.
Yeah, right.
That would be my perfect life partner.
There are hundreds and hundreds of new rules. Those are just a few of the ones I picked at random.
James, I'm impressed that you brought that to us, and I like some of the ideas, but this seems like a perfect hardcover book for you to write.
Well, you know that I collect etiquette books. I have etiquette books going back to the 1800s.
Yeah.
And so this is right in my wheelhouse.
That is a great idea, Tom. A history of etiquette.
Yes.
That's fascinating.
Yes. I have some old etiquettes for literally just some of the they can be really crazy and fun. So yes, I am an etiquette expert.
New York Magazine is also really on it these days because they did that Nepo baby story. They're just like,
hold on, and I'm breaking one of the rules. Is it Nepo baby or Nepo baby?
Nepo. It's like nepotism.
Oh, I like saying Nepo. It just sounds more.
I know you've got me saying Nepo, and now I hate myself, Fenton.
Well,
and I'm sorry to correct you, yes, but it is
because you know what I mean.
Meow. Meow.
It's like aluminum. It's just British.
Yes. Vitamins.
All right, microwave. Here we go. You can read more on the WoW report of the new rules of etiquette. That's number 6. Number 5.
Number 5.
I'm going to need some help here. But James St. James, and I always do what you say, James, told me via text that I should speak at number 5 about the Twitter thing, RateMyPoo. And so I duly went and searched RateMyPoo, the hashtag. I saw a couple of turdy poos, but I couldn't really get the hang of what was going on. So then you said, places I've pooed would be another one. And it had like 5 followers. I'm like, help me.
And 2 of them were James.
What is this Twitter viral sensation?
Well, RateMyPoo. Because I saw about 110 people's poos that just were shocking and appalling and made me lose my lunch. There were a couple, and there's some very long ones. There's some very splattery ones. There's some very large pine coney ones.
I see. And so the idea is, I mean, basically, just to explain it, the idea then is that people post pictures and then they get sort of rated by an authority or just by popular vote?
1 to 10, how interesting is your poo, and how shocking is it?
Does this predate Twitter though? This kind of.
I had a neighbor. I had a neighbor in college across the room from my dorm in Lowell house, and he came out one day and he was so excited he had a Polaroid. He goes, "Oh my God, look at this!" And he had laid out one of the longest, thickest poos you'd ever seen, and he shared it with us. He was straight, but we bonded. I wish I could remember his name right now.
I think right before Twitter, you would always have like random pop-up websites that would be like RateMyPoo.
But I also remember in the 70s and 80s looking at my brother's Hustler magazines, and they always had a section of people sending in pictures, Polaroids of their incredible poos. And so it is something that people like Fenton are always obsessed with poop. And so I just
Well,
thought they
that's
would
a
enjoy it.
British thing. That's a British. We do have a scatological sense of humor and preoccupation
Yeah.
in the old country, yes. But
And
I was like,
But and I don't know, I haven't gone on the places I've pooed, but I think that is a really fascinating one where people talk about different bathrooms that they go to around the city. I think that is always rating public bathrooms and the comfort level and how private it is and blah blah blah. I think all that's and must
as
know
you say that, I'm actually getting a flashback of a story I heard about, and I have no clue what the context is. Someone got on a private jet and they had a terrible upset stomach, and they were on a private jet with a potential investor or something, and they desperately needed to go to the bathroom, and turned out that there wasn't actually a bathroom per se on the jet. It was under one of the seats in the main cabin, so they had to lift up the seat and do their business in the main cabin of the private jet with everybody all around them. And apparently it was catastrophic in terms of noise and smell and just overall humiliation. I don't know if that's a true story. It just
it sounds
imprinted on my
vaguely
mind.
apocryphal, but I'm thinking that it's an episode of some show somewhere.
Right.
New etiquette, don't tell that story again, Fenton. Period. To anybody.
All right, let's take a break. That's a good segue. Packed with glorious insider gossip and amazing celebrity stories, Rate My Book. The book is called Screen Age. Hopefully it's better than a poo. It tells the wider story
read it
about
while you're pooing. Read it.
Exactly. On the loop.
Reading.
Screen Age by Fenton Bailey. It's the shit.
This stuff writes itself. I love it. I love it. The book comes out March 28th. It's published by Penguin, but you can get your copy now at the WoW store at store.worldofwonder.com. Blake, do you have a question for us?
I do. James mentioned the first transgender woman. What's her name? That won a Grammy. What's her name?
Oh,
in 1969. Okay.
Oh, that was the question. All right. So we'll have the answer right after the break. You're listening to Wow Report on Radio Andy.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. Fenton here with Tom and James and Blake. We're counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. And Blake has the answer to a very teasing question he asked.
Although we're all thankful that Kim Petras has won her first Grammy, she was not the first transgender woman to win a Grammy. What was that woman's name?
I'm embarrassed to say I don't know, but I'm hoping I'm going to hear it today on the show and then I'll remember it for the rest of my life.
Well, her name was Wendy Carlos, and she won 3 Grammys in 1969 for Classical Album of the Year and Classical something or other. And like I said, then she went on to work with Stanley Kubrick on Clockwork Orange and 2001: Space Odyssey.
That's right. It was her success was an album she did called Switched on Bach, and then she went on.
You're kidding? She did that?
Yeah.
I love that album.
Yeah,
That
she
is
was
an
one of the
amazing album.
pioneers of electronic music, which I know you do love.
And say her name one more time.
Wendy Carlos. She also went on to do the Tron soundtrack and what else? A Clockwork Orange and The Shining.
Switched on Bach is electronic versions of Johann Sebastian Bach, classical music. I mean, it's just fantastic.
Is she still alive? Do we know?
She is. The last time this article, which I'm reading from LGBTQ Nation, it says at 83, Carlos seems to have largely retreated from public life, emerging only in 2020 to disavow an unauthorized biography.
Interesting. I think she's worth following up on, everyone.
Yep. I think so too. All right, we're counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow. And we've reached number 4.
Number 4.
My last name is Campbell. I'm half Scottish. And for the first time ever, I went to Scotland over the weekend.
I love Scotland.
I'd never been. Theron and I were shooting here in the UK. We were on a very busy schedule, working all the time, Fed, working all the time. But we had the weekend off. And so Theron and I, you know, the whole Europe thing where we took a train and from King's Cross Station. We had an Uber to London. We took a train, which ended up being a beautiful ride and pastures and the ocean. Just, I love train travel. It's so fun. And we arrived at in Edinburgh, and
Edinburgh is my favorite city on the planet. I love it so much.
Because it was one night only, we got really fancy hotel suites at the Balmoral Hotel, which is literally at the train station, and it's gorgeous. And you have a view of the city with all these spires, and we had the castle view. And we were only there about 24 hours.
Hogwarts in the middle of the city. There's a mountain with Hogwarts on it.
Yes. And it's Theron has figured everything out through all of life and all conspiracy theories and all travel through TikTok. So we were just going places, and he would we would look at people's TikTok tours, you know, and we'd be like, oh, we need to go see that. And so we got everything. It's a small city. You can spend a lot of time there, but it's also small enough and beautiful enough and picturesque enough that you can kind of do a superficial, you know, fly through and feel good about yourself. I have to say, we were staying next door to Windsor Castle, which we had a beautiful tour of last year. Can I just say, the British, much richer than the Scots. The Scottish castle on top of a hill, so windy, so cold. Theron went to use the bathroom and ended up in like the torture chamber. Like, what was the torture chamber? We also went through the jail, and you're just like, and it really had some bad juju. It was like, ooh, and there was a pet cemetery, which seemed to have a lot more love and care than what they had for people. But you know, everything's built on a hill anyway. It's great for steps. And we had lunch at the Witchery, which is this incredible old Gothic-y kind of restaurant. And then, on the last day, we took an Uber because we were crazy. This is like, so to go to Berwick upon Tweed to this, which is the ocean. So the sea was hitting our face. It was incredibly cold. The Uber driver, it's like a 45-minute Uber. He never had seen the ocean before. His name was Mohammed. So he was taking pictures. So you bonded with everybody. And there's this huge rock island, just a rock sticking out of the ocean. And built on it is a lighthouse. And it's just gorgeous. And again, something that Theron found on TikTok. So I don't know. And I was offered haggis and said no.
You know, every time I've ever been to Scotland, as I'm flying over in the plane, I just think, this is my home. I could retire here. I could be so happy in Scotland. And then come to find out when I did 23andMe that I am like 92% from the UK. London, Manchester, and Edinburgh are my three places.
Wow.
With County Cork from Ireland is like
that's why I love you so much, James.
Yes, it's true. It's true. To me, I could just do a castle tour of Scotland and be completely happy.
But you do make the very good point, Tom, that living in a castle was not ideal home, was it? It was like kind of brutal, and you were throwing your shit out of a bucket. Never mind RateMyPoo. You were like tossing it out on the surfs below, and it was freezing cold, and it was drafty, and just not nice, really.
Well, the other thing about it, I think, is that, you know, because Theron was saying, geez, I feel like Edinburgh is much better preserved than London. And I was reminded that during World War II, there was all the bombing in London. So, you know, there is this great wealth of architectural, you know, continuity in Edinburgh that you don't see in London. But, again, I love both places.
Edinburgh. All right. Edinburgh is still there. You can go there. It's got this fantastic castle, a volcanic plug, and it's not on Netflix.
No, but you can watch it on TikTok. You can watch it on TikTok.
But, you know, and the thing is, Scottish boys, little red-haired ginger boys, just nutty people. I love them. They are hot. I could get me a little Scottish ginger and be very happy.
All right. Time to move on, I think. Number 3, James.
Number 3,
last night I watched Empire of Light, which is now on HBO Max. It's Olivia Colman, who is absolutely luminous and fantastic. She's nominated for Best Actress. She really is one of the best actresses we have. Nobody does sad middle-aged woman like Olivia Colman. This is another one of those performances. Here it's 1980, and she works at an Art Deco movie palace that has sort of seen better days. And some days nobody shows up, and she works there, but she loves it very much. And then one day, this hot young black boy starts working there, and she has a crush on him. She's instantly smitten, and their relationship is sort of the rest of the movie. It's Sam Mendes directed it. The cinematography is unbelievable. You gasp. If you just watch the first 20 minutes of it to see if this is a movie for you, because the first 20 minutes is she goes to the theater and turns the lights on, and that's 10 minutes, and you just ooh and ah at every light that goes on in this theater. It's so beautiful to watch. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross do the music, and it is absolutely fabulous. All 80s music. It's weird though, because the movie is sort of a mishmash of 4 different stories, and it never really finds its place. It's about Thatcherism, it's about racism, it's about growing older, it's about mental health, it's about all these things that never quite jibe together, although Olivia Colman's performance is absolutely one for the ages. And like I said, just watch it for the opening scene of turning the lights on in the movie.
That sounds amazing.
I love it.
Where can you see the movie, James? Oh, it's on HBO.
It's on HBO Max, yes.
Right. Awesome.
Just breaking news. You know how Discovery was going to merge their streaming service, Discovery Plus, with HBO Max? Today they announced they're not going to merge it. It's going to be
so
HBO
all of this has been for naught. All of this.
No, HBO will be Max.
Shit?
HBO will be Max and Discovery Plus, because they finally realized, totally different audiences. But
remember, they've been purging all these shows, and they've been taking. HBO has taken off.
I think that's about resetting the finances and the money and the expectations.
But that's about not having to pay residuals too. If they pull it down, then they don't have to. Yeah. So.
I suppose.
Anywho.
Oh, well, thank you for that. All right, number 2.
Number 2.
Number 2 is normally a rest in power, or like we normally do a rest in power. No one seems to have died this week. But I do want to do a little rest in power for the 747, the jumbo jet. Just recently, the very last jumbo jet to ever be made rolled off the production line. It's going to be a cargo jumbo. And since I think the first jumbo jet flight was the first commercial one was 1970. And it has lasted all this time. It was only ever intended to be a temporary thing because they thought they were all going to go supersonic and Concorde. But instead, the jumbo jet outlasted everything. It even outlasted its replacement, which was supposed to be, well, not replacement, but the A380, the double-decker plane that was going to completely put jumbo jets. I love those too, but I love a jumbo jet. Pan Am got Boeing to make it and develop it in the 60s. And I have very fond memories. It was the very first plane I took over to America. And
wait, the 747 is the one that has the 3 seats and then the 6 seats in the middle and then the 3 seats on each side. Is that what it is?
And it has the little bump at the front and a little upstairs area that was initially used as a little futuristic lounge. And people had visions of air travel being just luxurious and lovely and just standing around having cocktails. Of course, in the end, it just got filled with seats like everything else. But it's such a beautiful shape.
But the Air Emirates now is the one that still has all of that, right? Which has the showers and all of.
They have the A380s, which are double deckers all the way, but they're not nearly as beautiful to look at. And they only ever made, it sounds like I said 1,574 747s total ever made. And the other interesting fact I found is made up of 6 million different parts. 6 million parts go into a jumbo jet. I'm sure a lot go into any plane, but that is a lot. And if you're scared of flying, a lot of things to go wrong potentially, right?
Yes.
Thanks for that, Fenton. Thanks for that.
The other interesting fact is when they were developing it, it almost never happened at all because the wings have this like 225-foot span, and they were so heavy that the thing, it kind of like a bumblebee, it could not fly. They couldn't find a way to attach the wings to the body without them snapping off. So, yeah, rest in perfection, the jumbo jet.
Wow.
So they're not all being grounded. This is the last new one was made. Is that correct?
There are going to be no new ones. Exactly. They're not being grounded. They're going to carry on mainly as cargo planes. They get used. They're very, very popular for cargo planes.
Because I think the planes we fly in are usually pretty old.
Probably. Well, better being in a
plane.
You want to better be in a jumbo jet than a max jet. I tell you that.
Yes.
All right, let's take one more break. Oh, House of Love, the exclusive drink of RuPaul's Drag Race, just in time for your season 15 viewing parties. 4 delicious cocktails, 2 mouth-watering mocktails, party packs, the All-Star the Squirrel Friend Variety Box Hall of Fame. Just go to houseoflovecocktails.com, order to your heart's content, and I bet you those 60-minute shows will suddenly feel like 90-minute shows, and you won't care about anything anyway. All right, we'll be right back on Radio Andy with the Wow Report with the number one thing this week that made us go wow.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Welcome back to the Wow Report. It's Benson here with Tom and James and Blake. We've been counting down the top 10 things of the week that made us go wow. We've reached number one.
Number one.
Started with the Grammys, ending with the Grammys. So much happened, and I want Fenton and Blake and James to join in. But the big controversy, and we may have different opinions, I don't know, is that Beyoncé did not win the album of the year for Renaissance, which was her love letter to queer culture, to dance, electronic music. And instead, my unofficial boyfriend, Harry Styles, won for his album, Harry's House. Sorry, James, you seem to be having a bit of a conniption of Fet. Tell me what's going on.
Okay, here's the thing. Yes, Beyonce did not win, and she probably should have won. It is, it is more probably culturally relevant than Harry's House. But Beyonce is the most Grammy award-winning person in history. It is not as if the Grammys overlook Beyonce. Beyonce is a billionaire. She's gonna be fine. She's the most famous woman on the planet. She's gonna be fine. Nobody is snubbing Beyonce, okay? And the fact that everybody has made this into the biggest thing that has ever happened in the history of the world, and how dare it's not that big of it's just the Grammys. And the Grammys have the record of the year and the album of the year and the single of the year and they're all the same award. So if you don't get one, you get another, and if you don't get that one, you're gonna get another one. And so what is the big damage?
What about Harry's speech where he says things like this don't happen to guys like me? What is that?
Harry knew what the backlash was going to be, and he was flummoxed, and he just got up there and he was like a deer in the headlights and just said something nonsensical that
Two pieces of news. I interpreted that as he was sort of flashing back to where he came from. Not these, but just like, oh my God, like where I come from, people don't win Grammys. His performance, which everyone said was kind of lackluster, although I love that silver tinsel dance suit.
I love it.
This is the inside scoop. Because it harkens back to the video, but that turntable that was turning the whole time, it was messy. And they said, the dancers said it's regular, that they rehearsed it for a week going one way, and the night of the performance, it went the other way. So live television
on their feet, they had
in
to
front of the
they
world.
had to do the Ginger Rogers thing of backwards.
Yes, but they were supposed to create all these cool formations, and when you watch, you just see them all like bumping into each other and going in circles and falling over almost. So the fact they held it together, everyone was like, "What's with Harry?" I think one of the reasons. Listen, he also said something. He said, "There's no such thing as best album of the year." You know what I mean?
It's true.
It's the voting and the mechanisms and all that kind of stuff. But I have to say that I believe that Harry's 15 nights at the Forum and his 15 nights at Madison Square Garden, people saw him live who may have, voters who may have seen him, I think, in one of the best concerts I've seen in a long time. So that may have influenced the vote a bit.
And like I say, nothing. I'm not denigrating Beyonce or Beyonce's fans for wanting her to get album of the year, but and the fact that no black woman or any I don't think it's gotten one since Lauryn Hill 29 years ago. But the fact is it really? It's just the Grammys. It's not that big. None of these awards mean that much, really. When in the grand scheme of things, just let it go.
She has the most. Thank God, Queen Bee has the most Grammys of any performer ever as of this year.
So she, like I said, she's gonna be fine. She's not sitting at home sobbing.
She did a good thing. She did a good thing with Renaissance. Thank you, Beyonce.
Yes.
So did Adele get up and walk out when Harry won? Is that what happened?
That's what they say. She may have had to go to the bathroom. I don't know. We'll get Adele on next week.
She went off to rate her poo. That's what she was doing.
No, look at
You had to get one more in.
Well, that's all we got time for. Thanks for tuning into the Wow Report on Radio Andy. Listen to previous episodes on our YouTube channel, Wow Presents. God willing, we'll see you same time, same place next week. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go
wow.